Hello friends, welcome to BYD and let's start the mains 365 economic development only in one video. So let's begin. So first topic is employment, social security and skill development. So what is the scenario of employment in India? So status of employment in India. So what is the data? 41.3% was the labor force participation rate in 2021-22 and 4.1% of the working class was unemployed despite seeking active employment. About 82 crore workers make up India's workforce and 46% of workers are employed in agriculture. So these are clear cut data related to employment in India. So what is the key objective of employment in India? Increase female labor participation rate, female labor force participation at least 30%, encourage increased formalization of workforce, ensuring job growth, economic development while ensuring sustainable and inclusive development, and ensuring fair wages, good working conditions, increased productivity, socio-economic security for workers. So these are the key objectives. And what are constraints related to employment? So a large number of workers are not covered by social security or labor regulations. Next is less than half of the graduates have requisite skills and are employable. Lack of timely and periodic estimates of the data, the workforce and its engagements. Low participation of women in workforce, decline in manufacturing jobs due to automation and multi-skilling. So according to labor participation rate, the lack of skills related to for demand of the industries is not fulfilled by the graduates of the country. And next is other factors like shrinking public sector, rise in voluntary unemployment, lack of employability, and moonlighting, etc. Recovery in youth employment is still lagging due to COVID-19 as per International Labour Organization's Global Employment Trends for Youth 2022. And what are the key initiatives of the government? So first is Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Next is Sampurna Rozgar Yojana and Ajivika National Rural Livelihood Mission. Ajivika is for Ajivika National Rural Livelihood Mission and Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandan Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Employment Generation Program, E-Shram Portal, National Database of Unauthorized Workers, Atal Bimat Vyakti Kalyan Yojana for unemployment benefits, interlinking of databases such as Udyam E-Shram, National Career Service, and to act as live organic databases providing the government to citizen, business to citizen and business to business services. And foreign universities like Harvard, MIT roped into give lessons on employability skills under Skill India mission. So what are the way forward for employment or unemployment in India? Enhance skills and apprenticeship through initiatives like the labor market information system, simplification of modification of the labor laws keeping in mind the current context, improve data collection on employment through tools like periodic labor force survey, streamline industrial regulations to increase formalizations, and better enforcement of wage regulations and ceilings, enhance occupational safety and health, and enabling orange economy. Orange economy means a creative economy that is like uh, hand making and uh, handloom making and invention of new things uh, by the by a scientist or normal citizen or person in the country. It is one of the fastest growing sector worldwide. So encouraging the and next is encouraging the apprenticeship ecosystem to the tune of 10 million apprenticeships in the coming 10 years. So these are the way forward for employment in India. Next is gig economy. So gig economy, why news? Blinkit delivery agents went on strike as a reaction to changes in their pay structure. So gig economy in India. So what is the status of gig economy in India? So 77 lakh gig workers in India in 2010 to 21. 56% of new employment in India is being generated in 90 million jobs in non-farm sector. So 90 million jobs in gig economy. 47% of gig workers in India undertaken medium skilled jobs. And next is reasons for increase in gig economy. So first reason is widespread access to the internet, rapid increase in startup ecosystem, interoperability of the platform, changing work approach, rising demand for contractual employees. That gig economy, the contractual workers demanding in this sector. So this is a very rapid ongoing platform in the country, or as well as not merely in the country but in the world. Major challenges with gig economy. First is unavailability of reliable data. There is unavailability of gig worker force that cannot reliable on the workers ministry's data. That for big benefits of gig economy, no. So poor service conditions for platform workers. Yes, low wages, bait and switch incentives, opaque pay calculations, commission deductions, and constant monitoring on aggregator platforms. Next is bound by the terms of contract. Due to such contracts, platform workers cannot access many of the workforce protection and entailments such as health insurance, etc. Nascent regulatory framework, considering it as extension of unorganized sector, hinders effective regulation. Other challenges like limited opportunities for skill upgradation, unpredictable income, potential exploitation of workers. These are three challenges that is ongoing more rapidly than any other challenges because very exploitation of the gig workers in the platforms. Uh, many many gig workers are exploited. For example, recent a gig worker is beaten up by a mob within two to three home-based workers. What is the benefits of gig economy for consumers, for workers, for companies? So for consumers, the benefits of gig economy: personalized service, transaction costs are low, delivered almost anywhere and anytime. For workers, flexibility, independence, access to opportunity, workforce balance. For companies, low cost, diverse pool of flexible workers, low administrative and compliance cost. Regulatory framework of gig economy in India: Code on Wages Act, Code on Wages Act 2019. It provides for universal minimum wage and floor wage across organized and unorganized sectors, including gig workers. Code on Social Security 2020. It defines gig, platform, and unorganized workers while spelling out the entitlements. Social Security Fund and National Social Security Board to supervise and formulate schemes for well-being of the gig and platform workers. Way forward for recommendations of India's booming gig platform economy report by Niti Aayog. Proper estimation of gig worker. Data collected by eShram portal. Next is catalyze platformization. This is the keyword. You can remember this: catalyze platformization. What is platformization? A platform India initiative built on the pillars of simplification, funding, skill development, and financial inclusion may be introduced on similar lines to Stand Up India. Accelerate financial inclusion by leveraging fintech and platform business. Next is skill development with creation of potential skill certificates to further increase the employability of workers. Next is a special emphasis on access to formal credit for women, persons with disabilities, or platform businesses started in small cities, towns, villages in India. What are the keywords for way forward? R is the recognize the varied nature of platform work to design equitable schemes. A stands for allow augmentation of social security through innovative financial mechanisms. I stands for incorporate while designing schemes the specific interests or platforms, factoring the impact on job creation, platform businesses and workers. Support. S stands for support workers to subscribe to the government schemes and welfare programs through widespread awareness campaign. E stands for ensure benefits are readily accessible to workers. These are the keywords that you can remember. R for recognize, A for allow augmentation, I for incorporate, S for support workers, E for ensure benefits. These are the keywords related to use. You can use the way forward. And next is labor law reforms. What is labor laws? Labor laws are a body of laws, administrative rulings and precedents which address the legal rights of and restrictions on working people and their organizations. Body of laws, administrative rulings, precedents which address the legal rights of or restrictions on working people and their organizations. This is the definition of labor laws. They fulfill three major roles. What are three major roles? Uh, Redistribution of legal powers between workers and employees, facilitation of individual and collective employment relationship, and third is it serves as a reminder and guarantee of fundamental principles and rights at work. Need for reform and codification of India's labor laws. What is this? Labor laws are highly complex and overlapping in nature and also very high in number. Poor enforcement constrains growth of firm, promoting more capital intensive industries, a large number of unions, collective bargaining rights of workers, inadequate coverage of workers aggravates social issues like poverty. What are potential effects of labor code on these issues? Extended the coverage to more categories of workers and establishments. Guarantees timely minimum pay to all. It facilitates growth to firms along with job creation. Improves labor administration, protection of contract laborers' rights, recognition to negotiation unions with 51% membership, easing the process for entrepreneurs with one labor return to one license and one registration policy. One license, one registration policy. What are issues and concerns against new consolidated codes? Universal minimum wage is very low, lead to the process of labor cheapening. Wide jurisdiction of the government in certain cases is unnecessarily. Over delegation of legislation leading to bypassing of legislative scrutiny in some laws. Wide discretion in providing exemptions from these codes of the central as well as state government. Overlap between the definitions of gig workers, platform workers and unorganized workers. Social security, occupational safety do not apply to all the workers in certain codes. Crowd work or on-demand work. These are the challenges with new kind of workforce. Other steps, other steps that could have been taken. So what are other steps? National Commission on Labour 2002 had recommended a separate law for small scale unit, provide a framework for achieving universal social security, a given by Standing Committee on Labor Recommendations, Labor Court, Lok Adalats and Labor Relations Commissions as the integrated adjudicatory system in all labor market, recommended by National Commission on Labor. International Labour Organization 2016 highlighted that restricted use of fixed term and ad hoc contract workers in the total workforce could prevent their overexploitation. National Commission on Labour recommended a specific provision may be made to enable workers in the unorganized sector to form trade unions. Next is insurance sector. Status of insurance sector. 4.2% is India's overall insurance penetration in 2021. $91 in India's overall insurance density in financial year 2021. 12% is the average annual growth rate in insurance sector. India is the 10th largest insurance market in the world. And key objectives of insurance sector: ensuring social protection, decreasing out-of-pocket expenditure in case of critical illnesses, improve accessibility and affordability in insurance for every citizen in the country, doubling insurance penetration, cross 50,000 crore rupees in sector according to Indian Regulatory Development Authority of India. What are constraints regarding insurance sector? Low insurance penetration and density, inflexible policy terms, ambiguity in insurance contracts leading to huge dependency of consumer cases in the sector, multiplicity of government-sponsored insurance schemes, the missing middle between the deprived poorer sections and the relatively well-off. They neither qualify under subsidized health insurance for poor nor social health insurance for unorganized sector scheme. Low awareness on insurance products and risk acceptance among Indians, and schemes related to the insurance sector by the government. Foreign direct investment limit 49 up to 49%, but in 2022-23 budget announced that increased the FDI in insurance sector from 49% to 74%. Employees State Insurance Act 1948, प्रधान मंत्री सुरक्षा बीमा योजना, राष्ट्रीय स्वास्थ्य बीमा योजना एंड प्रधानमंत्री जीवन ज्योति बीमा योजना, प्रधानमंत्री आरोग्य योजना, अटल बीमित व्यक्ति कल्याण योजना, महात्मा गांधी बुनकर बीमा योजना, आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ LIC, GIC and New India. Domestic systemically important insurers like systematically important bank that insure in insurance sector, also domestic systemically important insurers for additional measures to avoid systemic risks and moral hazard. What are way forward regarding the insurance sector? Private voluntary insurance through commercial insurers should be expanded. Government data and infrastructure as a public good to reduce operational and distribution cost, ensuring standardization and improving simplicity through a guarantee basic minimum package of services. building consumer confidence by ensuring quality of services, swift grievance redressal mechanism, and robust auditing procedures. Next is skill development. So what is the skill development status in India? Only around 5% of the workforce is formally skilled against 52% in US and 96% in South Korea. 37-year long demographic dividend period lasting from 2018 to 2055. Only 50.3% of India's educated people are employable as per India Skill Report 2023. Quality of jobs is on decline, highlighted by the procedure periodic labor force labor force survey. These are status of skill development in India. What are key targets of skill development? 400 million Indian under national skill development mission for training of the youth. To encourage and promote skill development with respect to market demand, industry needs, services, and in new age job roles under Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana to skill 50,000 youth through skill impact bond between 2021 to 2025. Skill capital of the world is campaign. Increase the formally skilled labor to at at least 15% of the workforce. Ensure inclusivity and reduce divisions based on gender, location, organized or unorganized sector, etc. What are the schemes related to skill development? National Skill Development Mission and Skill India Mission, PM Kaushal Vikas Yojana, PM Yuva Yojana, recognition of prior learning component of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, skills acquisition and knowledge awareness for livelihood Sankalp and Strive. Strive stands for skills strengthening for industrial value enhancement. Next scheme is a smart scheme, that skill management and accreditation of training center. Next is Nipun scheme. Nipun stands for National Initiative for Promotion of Upskilling of Nirman Workers. In this scheme, the youth will train up to 1 lakh construction workers under Nipun scheme. Adoption of next is adoption of captive employment in house training and placement methodology under DDU Gram Kaushal Yojana. Bharat Skills Forum, a digital knowledge sharing platform for ITIs trainees, trainers, and industry. What are constraints regarding skill development? So, multiplicity in assessment and certification systems, underdeveloped and poor quality infrastructure of skill training center, less participation of women in skill development schemes, lack of proper career guidance to the students, low public perception of skilling, pushing it lower on priority than the formal academic system, and last is limited mobility between skill and higher education programs and vocational education. What are way forward regarding skill development? Industry academia partnership should be strengthened. Mapping skill requirements of demand-driven skill development for system sector-wise and geographically. Mainstreaming skill development instill the required vocational and skill development program in our secondary and higher education as well as undergraduate education, standardization of certification, and alternative financial sources such as CSR, CAMPA, MPLAD, Manrega, etc. can be utilized for skill development. Encourage private sector to take part in it as it has the necessary resources and expertise. Next is Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Y News. Standing Committee on Labour, Textile and Skill Development recently submitted its report on implementation of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. About Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. It is the flagship scheme of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship implemented by National Skill Development Corporation. What is the objective of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana? To enable a large number of Indian youths to take up industry relevant skill training that will help them in securing a better livelihood. What are key components of the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana scheme? Short-term training, recognition of prior learning, special projects, Kaushal and Rozgar Mela, placement assistance, monitors, continuous monitoring, standardized banding and communication. These are the key components of the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Implementation challenges. What are challenges for Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana? Non-utilization of funds, low placements, poor functioning of Atmanirbhar skilled employer mapping portal. Issues under the centrally sponsored schemes between center and state. Delay in release funds from state treasury. Non-availability of trainers with right eligibility criteria. Limited or non-availability of placement partners. High pendency of assessment with sector skills councils, delay in payments to sector skills councils, etc. Lack of functional online management system. Out of 36 states and union territories, the online management system for CSSM component is functional only in 15 states and union territories. High dropout rates. Rural-urban disparity. These are the major challenges for the Kaushal Vikas Yojana implementation. Positive impact of the scheme: increment of salary, change in employment conditions of the candidates more than 76%, improved efficiency in current job up to 88% candidates, recognition of prior learning, 19% increase in mean monthly income, and 75% acknowledged better efficiency in current jobs. What are the way forward and recommendations of the report for the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana? Regular monitoring and strict follow up action to ensure optimal utilization of the earmarked funds. making the certification process more transparent and effective. Boost the number of employers registered on the same portal. Work in tandem with defaulting state governments or union territory administrations. Next, encourage industry buy-in and contribution for skilling, including sharing of training infrastructure, demand aggregation, introduction of on-job training, enhance flexibility in course curriculum by introducing courses in partnership with industry, government ministries, departments, and promote apprenticeship opportunities for candidates. Next is demographic dividend. Why news unemployment rate highlighted in recent periodic labor force survey quarterly bulletins for quarter January to March 2023, but it is not important because UPSC choose the annual data, uh, be it unemployment, demographic dividend, or skill development, as it is. So this is not more important data for quarterly level. UPSC interested in annual data. What is demographic dividend? Demographic dividend refers to the economic growth potential that can arise from a favorable demographic structure within a population. You can remember this definition for introduction of your answer writing. It occurs when a country experiences a significant proportion of its population in working age group, typically between 15 and 64 years, relative to dependents 14 and younger, 65 and older. Facts to highlight that India is the middle of a demographic transition. Why? Because falling fertility, currently approximately 2.0, rising median age from 24 years in 2011 and 29 years now, and expected to be 36 years by 2036. A falling dependency ratio expected to decrease from 65% to 54% in the coming decade, taking 15 to 59 years as the working age population. How working age population provides the dividend: increase the labor supply, increase in national savings rates, unburdened human capital with healthier women and fewer economic pressures at home, increased in demand with increasing GDP per capita and the decreasing dependency ratio. Main challenges related to demographic dividend: generating informal economy, caste discrimination and religious differences, gender disparity, generating sufficient employment opportunities, widening income gap, lack of access to healthcare services, low employability. So these are challenges in demographic dividend. What are the measures to reap demographic dividend? Health and education spending for improved economic production and prepare for the demands of the economy. Increase female workforce participation. Gender busting should be increased. Child benefits increase. Tax incentives for part-time work. Bridge skill gap should be strengthened for vocational skills, internships and embedded apprenticeship degree programs. encourage foreign capital inflows. Gross fixed capital formation of 33% of GDP is currently transition from the agriculture sector, productive employment and promote relevant programs and policies. These are the measures that you can use your answer writing program. Second, demographic dividend: increase in adult longevity, save more in preparation for old age, capital accumulation and economic growth. Second dividend, long lasting and larger than the first dividend. Okay, can last 5 decades or longer. Next topic is economic and inclusive growth. First is Human Development Report. Wide news: recent United Nations Development Program released its report as Human Development Report. What is the theme of this report? Uncertain times, unsettled lives, shaping our future in a transforming world. So this you can remember this theme related to Human Development Report. What are the indices under the Human Development Index report? Inequality Adjusted SDI looks at how SDI is distributed among its residents. Gender Development Index estimates SDI values for women and men. Gender Inequality Index looks at the issue of gender inequality. Multidimensional Poverty Index captures the multi-deprivations that people in developing countries face. These are the 4 indices in Human Development Report. You can remember this. Human development is defined. What is human development? Human development is defined as the process of enlarging people's freedoms and opportunities and improving their well-being. 3 key dimensions of human development: long and healthy life or life expectancy, access to knowledge, expected and mean years of schooling, and decent standard of living as per gross national income per capita. These are the 3 key dimensions of human development: long and healthy life, life expectancy, access to knowledge, mean years of schooling, and decent standard of living per capita income of individual. What are findings of the report? Decline in global HDI index declined for 2 consecutive years in row, 2020 and 2021, reversing 5 years of progress. India's rank 132 out of 191 countries, so worst rank of India in Human Development Index over 2 consecutive years for the first time in 3 decades. India's neighbor rank Sri Lanka, China, Bangladesh, Bhutan have fared better than India in Human Development Index. Gap between men and women faster than the world in India in human development. India's investment in health and education, access to clean water, sanitation and affordable clean energy has been lauded by United Nations Development Program. Reasons behind the decline of Human Development Index in India as well as at global level. Underlying factors at global level: COVID-19 pandemic, Russian invasion of Ukraine, and climate crisis drag down the human development score. At India's level, human development value fell, placing the country in medium human development category. Reasons for downfall: life expectancy dropped due to coronavirus. India's expected years of stand schooling stand at 11.9 years and mean years of schooling are at 6.7 years. Uncertainty complex. Uncertainty complex is new kinds of uncertainty, new layer and interact, forming a new uncertainty complex. The pursuit of sweeping societal transformations, widespread intensifying polarization, dangerous planetary change of the Anthropocene, everyday uncertainty that people have always faced. And next, India's Human Development Index reason for downfall. Per capita income in terms of purchasing power parity has gone down by 5% compared to 2% increase for the developing countries during 2019 and 2021-22. Dynamic factors: uncertainty complex. New uncertainty complex facing humans in human development progress. A report showed that 6 in 7 people worldwide were plagued by feelings of insecurity, causes of uncertainty which are hindering human development. The Anthropocene and its inequalities. For the first time in our history, the most serious and immediate risks are human-made. Social transformation to ease planetary pressures. Increase in polarization in the backdrop of rising misinformation online. So these are the dynamic factors related to human development index. What are way forward to tackle the human development index ranking declining? Government should focus on 3 I's: investment, insurance and innovation. India is already a front runner in these areas: renewable energy, boosting social security for most vulnerable and driving the world's largest vaccination drive through COVID, supported by the United Nations Development Program and other countries. We, along with India, created the Gavi platform to deliver vaccine around the world, especially for developing and underdeveloped countries. India has boosted access to social protection for vulnerable sections of society, especially during and after the pandemic. To encourage it further, following areas can be worked upon: making people secure, investment, provision of global public goods, nature-based human development, preparation to face environmental changes, and recognition. Human accompany cultural changes that recognition. Human rights laws change scripts and narratives. Media campaign to prevent discrimination, reduce mental health stigma. Insurance, micro ma- oh, macro-prudential policies, social protection, access to basic services, protection of human rights, public deliberation, opportunities for broad participation. Representation, increased diversity in public spaces, transitional justice, equal participation in decision making, support social movements. Next, innovation. Under innovation, adaptive peace, peace building, energy efficiency, social innovation, addressing misinformation and enhancing media literacy. Under education, education curricula, schools embodying diversity, horizontal teaching practices, build teachers' capacity, prevent violent extremism. These are the way forward for tackling the Human Development Index in India as well as the world. Next is productivity challenge of India. Productivity challenge of India at a glance. Total TFP growth rate for India for 2010 to 2019 was approximately 2.2%, better than emerging markets and developing economies. Two kinds of productivity measures are usually taken into account: labor productivity, ratio of output to number of workers or number of hours worked; total factor productivity, total output divided by weighted average of inputs, that is labor and capital. What is the significance of improvements in productivity? Improvement in productivity raises output levels, leading to higher GDP and economic growth, brings higher profit and more investment opportunities for business, translates to higher wages and better working conditions for workers, increases tax revenues for government and better policy formulation, improved competitiveness and trade performance, sustainable development goal achievement. Reasons behind low productivity in India: lack of skilled labor workforce, large unorganized sector and small size of firms, limited scale of innovation, lack of availability of quality data, lack of adoption of good management practices. So these are the reasons behind the low productivity in India. Initiatives taken for improving productivity: various flagship programs such as Skill India Mission, Make in India, Digital India, Stand Up India, Smart Cities Mission, Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, Amrut Mission, Housing for All, and Industrial Corridor. Focus on infrastructure development such as National Infrastructure Pipeline, PM Gati Shakti, National Monetization Pipeline, dedicated freight corridors, etc. Technological interventions for processing product development, sustainability and export orientation in agriculture sector such as forward and backward linkages improvement. Way forward: lowering barriers to trade and investment, encouraging growth of size of firms, improving quality of skill training, investing in information and communication technology and reforming education, improving productivity in manufacturing sector. These are the way forward for total factor productivity. Next is post-pandemic economy. Post-pandemic economy, COVID-19 exposed following fault lines of the Indian economy: persisting economic slowdown, economic fragility due to large dependence on services sector, large-scale disruptions in supply of essential commodities have indicated towards lack of resilience in supply chain, high degree of information, entangled nature of inequality and prevalent model of economic development. These are the COVID-19 exposed fault lines of the Indian economy. changes that happened in the nature of Indian economy. Normalize the idea of work from home, focus on self-reliance, encouraging digitization of most of the businesses and institutions, accelerating trend of deglobalization, uncertainty associated with labor has given a push towards technology incentive intensive and capital intensive growth, development of health capacity. Other sphere, the digitization of economy translates to digitization of society. WHF, WFH may lead to reimagining the urbanization with less pressure on metro cities and limited floor space requirement. Rapid technology penetration in education with e-learning becoming popular, internalization of sanitation standards, intensification of social issues like child labor, exploitation of workers, etc. Philosophy to post-pandemic economy, moving from stakeholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism, focus on building resilience going forward, focusing on the triple bottom line people, profit and planet, making continuous innovation part of the process, measures to ensure smooth and speedy recovery, ensuring food security under public distribution system and other tactics, National Food Security Act. Direct cash transfer to affected populations, participating in rekindled supply chains, public investment in physical and social infrastructure, providing fiscal room to the economy by relaxing fiscal responsibility and budget management act in the immediate term. Next is poverty alleviation. Poverty alleviation. Poverty in India, that 364 million people are below poverty line in India. More than 16% of the population in India under multidimensional poverty index. 12.3% decline in extreme poverty in India from 22.5 in 2011 to 10.2% in 2019. Two-thirds of the world's poor live in conflict-affected countries like in Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and most of the African countries. Objectives of poverty: eradicate extreme poverty for all people, consumption expenditure and not on the income level, basic poverty line estimation in India. All forms of poverty beyond economic realm should be identified, addressing multidimensional poverty in a holistic manner. These are the objectives. What are constraints related to poverty? Unequal distribution of land and other assets, amount of resources allocated is not sufficient, implementing officials are inadequately trained, less participation of local level institutions. These are the constraints. What are the government initiatives related to poverty in India? 49% of elected local representatives are women and over 4 lakh members belong to SC/STs. Under 73rd Amendment for local political participation of women in India, increased spending on community-based welfare for women and increased reporting of crimes, healthy competition among various states regarding devolution of 3 years funds, functions and functionaries. What are way forward to eradicate poverty effectively, providing adequate training and incentives to government and bank officials, shifting to a higher low middle income poverty line of purchasing power parity US dollar 3.2 a day, for even higher efforts to reduce poverty using cost effective high frequency survey, ensuring participation of local government and institutions. Policy responses need to reflect the changing profile of the poor. Poverty action needs to address hot spots of conflict, climate change, and COVID 19. Focus on broad based economic transformation, reorient spending away from subsidies toward support targets to poor and vulnerable groups, increase public investment that support long-term development such as investments in the human capital, mobilizing revenue without hurting the poor. These are the way forward to eradicate poverty in India. Next is Manrega. Manrega uh, was created in 2005 under Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005. About Manrega, at least 100 days of legal unskilled manual work as a guaranteed employment in a financial year. Audit is conducted by CAG for Manrega workers. Geo Manrega is a unique endeavor of the Ministry of Rural Development in association with National Remote Sensing Center, ISRO, and National Informatics Center for geotagging of assets created under Manrega. Several studies have highlighted that Manrega has had a positive social impact because more number of workers work under Manrega, and even during COVID-19, Manrega had worked very efficiently for the migrant workers. What are the challenges and recommendations made by committee? Effective coordination with states for timely release of funds. Delay in release of state share of 25% material cost. Migration of unspent balances through the utilization of allocated funds in a time-bound and financial prudent manner. End of financial year 2020-21 of an amount of more than rupees 5,000 crores. Timely payment of wages. Wage liability pending in November 2021. Increase in wages through linkage with commensurate inflationary index. So committee recommended using consumer price index, rural CPI, rural released by National Statistical Organization in place of consumer price index, agriculture labor released by Labor Bureau for indexation of wages under Manrega. Uniform wages across the country to end the disparity of wages under Manrega, since it is a centrally sponsored scheme. Increase in number of days of work sought under Manrega to 150 days from 100, keeping in view the changing times and emerging challenges, particularly in wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Promotion of Baldhana Maharashtra pattern. Unique symbolic relationship is observed wherein the raw material for road construction is obtained from the clogged and overflowing water bodies through their desiltation under Baldhana scheme in Maharashtra. Better promotion of women-centric works under Manrega. Projects which are women-centric in nature to ensure their economic independence. Revamping of a scheme to meet the changing demands, including medical facilities to meet the challenges of COVID emergencies. Under Manrega must be given Free basic medical facilities attached with job cards at the doorstep of respective villages. So more news related to Manrega. Ministry of Rural Development has released report on delays in social audit under Manrega. Social audit calendar versus audits completed. Only 14.29% of the planned audits have been completed. Social audit is process of reviewing official records regulated by the CAG. The original Manrega Act had provisions of social audit. Every social audit unit is entitled to funds equivalent to 0.5% of the Manrega expenditure incurred by the state in the previous year. They are funded by center and not the state. So this can be remember you. Next is direct benefit transfer. While news, India saved over $27 billion in key central government schemes through direct benefit transfer. Objectives of direct benefit transfer: curbing pilferage and duplication, accurate targeting of beneficiaries, reduced delay in payments, and electronic transfer of benefits, minimizing levels involved in benefit flow and reduce the corruption as well. Direct benefit transfer lauded in 2013 to transfer government benefits directly into the citizens' Aadhaar seeded bank accounts for targeted delivery of the benefits. Aadhaar is not mandatory in direct benefit transfer schemes. And what are significance of direct benefit transfer? Efficient transfer of government benefits increases the transparency and accountability, reduces the host beneficiaries with biometric authentication as multiple or fake entries can easily be mapped, reduces corruption, aids digital economy and financial inclusion, that bringing the beneficiaries into formal economy and introducing him or her to the banking system. Success implementation of direct benefit transfer in India. So Jam Trinity, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile Trinity to enable a leakage proof and targeted transfer of benefits. Business correspondence infrastructure. Business correspondence as an alternative to brick and mortar banks. Payment banks. Its main objective is to widen the spread of payment and financial services to small business, low-income household, migrant labor workers, etc., and secured technology-driven employment environment across the country. Mobile money. It is a fast-moving way of payment in the country and helpful in providing solution to last mile issue for better accessibility of direct benefit transfer. What are the impediments or challenges in direct benefit transfer? Lack of infrastructure, digital literacy, that country facing is illiteracy rate and poor, that hurdle in the access of education in poor people. Cash may not be used for intended purpose, that unproductive in unproductive areas like liquor, gambling, etc. Ineffective grievance redressal. Profiteering by banks. Many banks have levied a fee for transactions in the Jan Dhan accounts over a prescribed limit, thereby discouraging the poor beneficiaries from using the banking system. What are the way forward? Beneficiary-centric grievance redressal. The grievance redressal mechanism should be made more transparent and simplified with a time frame oriented approach. Increasing the digital literacy, improving the infrastructure, enabling doorstep delivery of cash. These are the way forward related to direct benefit transfer to effective and implementation of the direct benefit transfer in India. Next is urban poverty. What is urban poverty? Urban poverty is form of poverty that is particularly visible in mega cities characterized by poor living circumstances and income as well as lack of essential utilities and bad quality of life. The government aims for sustainable development of cities to ensure supply of land, shelter, and services at affordable prices to all sections of the society. Empower urban poor and achieve high economic growth to reduce poverty for inclusive development, meeting local communities' aspirations while resolving main urban development issues. What are current situations for urban poverty? Urban centers are important centers of economic activity. They contribute nearly 65% of India's GDP. Lack of affordable housing with greater urban poor, deprivation in sanitation and infrastructure. 17% of urban households are slum dwellers. Increasing inequalities between rich and poor leading to ghettoization. This is the keyword ghettoization that you can remember. Ghettoization of communities and rise in crimes. Growing anti-immigrant sentiments leading to demand for local reservations. Growing economic distress and desperation due to reduced household incomes. What are steps taken by the government? National Urban Livelihood Mission to reduce poverty and vulnerability through gained self-employment and skilled wage employment. Smart Cities Mission to create 100 smart cities in the country to eradicate poverty and vulnerability of the various sections of the society. Amrut Mission like Atal Mission for rejuvenation and urban transformation for improved quality of life of the poor. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana for housing for all by 2022. Jal Jeevan Mission and Swachh Bharat Mission for universal drinking water supply and sanitation facilities. Heritage City Development and Augmentation Yojana, Hriday Yojana for integrated, inclusive and sustainable development cities. What are challenges related to urban poor? Continued migration pressure with urban population to exceed 590 million people by 2030 due to urban pull and rural push factor. So, urban pull and rural push factors, these are the keywords that you can remember. What is urban poor, urban pull and what is rural push factors. Lack of opportunities and formal skilling. Higher urban inflation. Inflation is a great factor persisting the challenges of the urban poor. Low female labor force participation. Limited development of powers, functions and finances to urban local bodies. What are way forward? Empowerment of local leadership. For example, mayor address structural issues of economy. Lack of leads to lack of economic opportunities, low productivity, unemployment. modernization of agriculture and bringing industrialization to rural areas for decongestion of cities, promotion of entrepreneurship with improved financing and vocational education and training infrastructure, promotion of self-help groups and gender equity, bringing new urban agenda. These are the way forward related to urban poverty. Next is urban employment generation scheme. Rajasthan launched Indira Gandhi Urban Employment Guarantee Scheme. Features of this scheme. So not need to features of this not need to remember this scheme all about, and this is related to the urban employment guarantee scheme like Manrega. So not remember point to point. You can take this point and use your answers. So what are the features? Provide work for 100 days to the poor and needy families living in the cities. Employment would be the segments of environment and water conservation, cleanliness and sanitation, stopping defacement of property. Earlier, Odisha, West Bengal, Himachal Pradesh, Kerala, Jharkhand, and Tamil Nadu have introduced jobs schemes in urban areas. This is the Indira Gandhi Urban Employment Guarantee Scheme. Importance of urban job guarantee. Marginalization of urban poor in policy making. For example, Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan during COVID-19 was launched for migrant workers to return their villages. Resolve low employment in urban areas. In 2017-18, the labor force participation rate in urban areas was 36.8%. Tackle persistent higher inflation. Improve nature of jobs in urban areas. Secured jobs to women, like in Manrega, in rural areas. What are the issues to implementation of the urban employment guarantee scheme? Urban employment guarantee schemes will require a greater skill sophistication than in rural areas. Deciding beneficiaries, whether a poor person should be allowed to avail benefits under both Manrega as well as urban employment guarantee schemes is not clear. Selection and definition of urban areas. Metro cities, towns would be a challenge, like deciding city boundaries where the scheme would be applied. Urban local bodies are poorly funded. Managing carrying capacity of urban areas. For initiatives for employment generation in urban areas. PM Swanidhi for street vendor. Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana National Urban Livelihood Mission and Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program for setting up new micro enterprises. What are way forwards? Decentralized urban employment and training. Under this model, the state government issues job stamps and distributes them to approved institutions, schools, colleges, etc. The approved institution would arrange the work with the government paying the wages directly to the worker's account on presentation of job stamps. Employment generation, employment program without guarantee, creation of low skilled jobs, and investment in urban infrastructure in a low labor intensive approach or higher labor capital ratio to create more employment, encouraging small enterprises, reduce migration from rural areas to the urban areas. improve rural development, creating employment in rural areas with improved access to basic facilities like drinking water, sanitation, healthcare, and shelter. So these are the way forward related to the scheme in urban areas. Financial inclusion. Next is financial inclusion. Status of financial inclusion in India. 14.7 bank branches per 1 lakh adults in 2020, higher than Germany, China, and South Africa. 49 crore plus Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana accounts with over 55% accounts held by women. 16.31 crore enrollment till May 2023 under Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana. Bottom 50% of the global population owns just 2% of wealth and 8% of income. World Inequality Report 2021. Vision of the financial inclusion. Universal access to financial services, banking for the unbanked, for affordable, safe and transparent financial services and products, better access to credit, maintain financial sustainability, women empowerment, utilize advanced technology. What are the constraints related to financial inclusion? Lack of financial literacy, high operational cost, frauds, malpractices in digital model, excessive regulatory requirements on products, market entry, and conservative regulatory approach to new technology. And last is presence of a large information sector promoting large scale cash transactions. What are the schemes or initiatives related to the financial inclusion by the government? National Mission for Financial Inclusion under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana to provide universal banking services for every unbanked household. Universal Social Security System for all Indians through Pradhan Mantri Swachh Bharat Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, and Atal Pension Yojana. National Strategy for Financial Inclusion 2019-24 from RBI to ensure access to financial services for every adult through mobile by 2024, extending digital financial services via National Payment Corporation of India UPI and RuPay card, providing banking access in villages through banking correspondence, supporting employment and entrepreneurship through PM Mudra Yojana and Stand Up India schemes, financial literacy project through financial literacy centers and regular activities in different areas. What are the way forward related to financial inclusion? Launching a new scheme for comprehensive financial literacy, focus on financial empowerment, improve credit worthiness, access to the performance of banking correspondence to scale up payment systems in unreserved areas, strengthen cyber security regime and data protection laws. Inequality is in India. Next is inequality in India. Survival of the richest. Wine news. Survival of the richest. The India Story report recently released by Oxfam India highlighted that India is not only one of the fastest growing economy in the world but also one of the most unequal countries. About inequality, according to UN, inequality is the state of not being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities. Two perspectives: inequality of opportunities, such as unequal access to employment or education. Inequalities next is inequality of outcomes in various material dimensions of human well-being such as level of income, educational attainment, health status, and so on. Income inequality. The most widely cited measure of inequality of outcomes is typically measured by Gini coefficient. Impact of persistent economic inequality or wealth gap. Impact. What are impacts of persistent economic inequality or wealth gap? Social risk. Increased social polarization, social justice hampered. Policy risk. Through market-oriented reforms, you can eradicate the policy risk. Economic risk. From increased economic inequalities such as mass poverty, especially in young population, reduced states' ability to protect their poor and vulnerable sections. Environment risk, inequality and unjust development such as damaging wetlands, increased river pollution, etc. Political risk, marginalization of vulnerable segments of population in policy decisions, ability to question policies and processes. What are challenges in removing the economic inequalities? Historical differences, like inequality regions or nations usually have low intergenerational mobility, leading to limited opportunities for socio-economic mobility. Monetary resources constraints on redistributive policies from state due to issues of informal economy. Human capital constraints due to vicious cycle of low income, low productivity, low taxes, and low human capital. Climate change exacerbating inequalities. Unplanned urbanization, like slums, are the most visible symptoms of exclusion in divided cities. Measures taken to reduce economic inequality. Employment measures like Manrega, self-help groups, promotion skill India, taxation reforms, subsidies and transfers, promoting financial inclusion, support to MSMEs, social safety by Ayushman Bharat Mission, Jan Dhan Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So these are the key measures to tackle the economic inequality in India. What are way forward to reduce inequality? Universal basic income, raise minimum income to reduce the income gap in the labor market. Urban employment guarantee scheme, like new scheme released by the government of Rajasthan. Equitable access to education. Education to 6% of GDP, enhanced by the government budget in 2023-24. Rationalization of subsidies, better targeting of beneficiaries through alternatives like direct benefit transfers over existing inefficient mechanisms. Next is gender budgeting. What is gender budgeting? Gender budgeting is an ongoing process of keeping a gender perspective in policy, program formulation, its implementation and review. It is also known as gender sensitive budgeting and gender responsive budgeting. Gender budgeting was implemented during the budget 2022-23 by the finance minister. What is relevance of gender budgeting? Effective tool for achieving gender mainstreaming of, since it guarantees that men and women receive equal benefits from employment and ensures that budgetary commitments to gender equality are reflected in government plans. So gender budgeting in India. It was first introduced in 2005-6 budget. Introduced by 2005-6 budget and implemented in 2022-23. Budget divided into two parts. Part A reflects women specific scheme, 100% allocation for women, for example, Mission Shakti. Part B pro women schemes, at least 30% of the allocation is for women, for example, midday meal scheme. And a scheme for transgender, Smile. Smile is a scheme for transgender person. Support for marginalized individuals for livelihood and enterprise is also part of gender budgeting. Performance of gender budgeting, gender gap still exists, reflected through lack of equal opportunities for women in the economy, education and health. What are the key issues in India's gender budgeting? Since 2016-17, generally there has been a decline in allocation for gender budgeting, merging various schemes under few umbrella schemes resulted in reduction of allocation. For example, allocation in Mission Shakti was less than the cumulative allocation for its components schemes earlier. Underutilization of funds allocated to gender budgeting, more than 80% allocation remains concentrated only in 5 ministries, including Ministry of Rural Development, Women and Child Development, Agriculture and Health, and exclusion of important women empowerment schemes from the ambit of gender budgeting, such as Jal Jeevan Mission, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. So gender budgeting scheme was increased during budget 2022-23, not implemented and not introduced in budget 2022. It was introduced in budget 2005-6 and continuously is ongoing scheme in India. And way ahead, to make gender budgeting more effective, need to have gender segregated data for effective budget allocation and monitoring. Estimates for allocation should be based on roadmap prepared by each ministry or department. Allocation of funds where women face specific structural barriers. Raise awareness and motivate other departments and ministries to participate in gender budgeting. Implementation, targeted gender budgeting to curb the problem of underutilization of available fund. Resource allocation at every level needs a gender sensitive approach. Next is Mahila Samman Savings Certificate. Mahila Samman Savings Certificate is in news, that not important, but you can use in your answer writing for this saving certificate scheme. Okay, so next is self-help groups. Self-help groups, target of having 10 crore self-help group members by 2024. So this is in news and related to self-help groups, that government announced that target of having 10 crore of self-help group members by 2024 will be achieved. More on news, that ministry has also signed an agreement with Miso, an e-commerce platform, to help in marketing of products made by self-help group under the Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana. National Rural Livelihood Mission and State Rural Livelihood Mission have taken several steps to promote curated products from self-help groups through multiple channels such as Saras Gallery, state-specific retail outlets, e-commerce platforms like Government e-market, Flipkart, Amazon. Okay, Role of self-help groups in development, financial inclusion, poverty alleviation, social development, and diversification of rural income streams, women empowerment, self-help groups, and COVID-19. These are the role model under the self-help group scheme. Issues. What are issues associated with self-help groups? Poor utilization of credit for productive purposes, confinement to low productivity sectors, lack of scalability, absence of digital and financial literacy, limited participation in government programs. What are way forward related to social self-help groups to reduce the gender disparity as well as the improvement of self-help group in India, diversification of livelihoods, abilities of members to diversify into other high productive activities, integration of digital services, capacity building of self-help groups members by training them in digital and financial literacy will be critical. Convergence of self-help groups with panchayats can be ensured to enhance their say in the decision-making process. Some southern states have taken a lead in such integration. Involvement of Involvement of private sector. The National Rural Livelihood Mission can further tap the startup and private sector space. For example, in 2019, Kerala's Kudumbasiri ties up to the Amazon for its program Amazon Saheli, through which it promotes women entrepreneurs by selling their products. This is news related to self-help groups. Urban planning. So urban planning. Next is urban planning. You can remember, and this is the static part of the your general studies paper. Need not be revise this. Okay, revise this in your uh, notes. Street vendor Pradhan Mantri Swanidhi Yojana launched by the government, and it includes 41% beneficiaries are women and next 59% are covered under PM Swanidhi scheme by men. You can remember this and need not all about this street vendor scheme policy. Challenges of the street vendor: lack of social security, unrealistic license caps, fluctuating markets, urban sprawl, safety of street food, e-commerce. What are the way forward? Inclusive and thoughtful urban design, authenticate the quality of products sold on the streets, inclusive market-led sustainable development, buying local. So these are the way forward related to PM Swanidhi or street vendor scheme. Next is ruralization to urban industrialization. About ruralization refers to opening of rural areas to renew rural generations, jobs and farms. This is, you can remember this generation, renew rural generations, jobs and farm. What are the indications of ruralization? Workforce shift towards agriculture, demand for cereals rising again, fall in industrial production, persistence of unemployment problem due to employment and income situations have remained weaker than pre-pandemic and 10 years back, resulting in a worsening of per capita income. Chronic lack of private investments. Share of private fixed capital formation has continued to decline. How can rural industrialization help in rural economy? Skilled as well as non-skilled employment opportunities and diversifies rural occupations, addressing the problem of agricultural laborers, violent industrialization, preservation of India's rich culture, promoting micro and small enterprises. These are the key initiatives and key development to help rural industrialization. Initiative by the government, production and incentive scheme, 14 key sectors, PM Swanidhi for street vendors, PM Gati Shakti for infrastructure, Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana National Urban Livelihood Mission, and Credit Guarantee Trust Fund for micro and small enterprises, not medium enterprises, and Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana for collateral free loans to the MSME sector for MSME groups. What are way forward to fast track rural industrialization? Formulation of rural industrial policy, defining rural industries, integrated approach for skills development, harnessing the potential of rural women, upgrading the techniques of production, and fulfilling the gaps in infrastructure. Next is urban rural classification. Not remember point to point about this news. What are key challenges and issues as well as way forward for this urban rural classification? These are the key ideas related to this scheme, this news. And next news is housing. Housing is also not very crucial, not very important, because of the schemes related to housing are ongoing. So you can remember that and related to this housing program with that schemes. Okay. Next is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. This is a scheme. Also, what are the objectives? What are the critical observations of Committee Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Rural, and suggestion by the committee. Okay. So these are the some point related to Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So you can remember Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, that are complementary, that are substitute to the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban to the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Rural. What are the way forward key challenges as well as initiatives taken by the government? Next is land records modernization in India. Land records modernization in India scheme was launched by the government recently. The digitalization of land records in India. So schemes related to this Digital India Land Records Modernization Program, Unique Land Parcel Identification Number or ALPIN or Bhu Aadhaar, National Generic Document Registration System, Survey of Villages, Abadi and Mapping with Improvised Technology in Village Areas, Swamitwa Scheme, Bhunaksha, Bhumi Kaveri, Me Seva of Andhra Pradesh, and use of blockchain for land record management by NITI Aayog. So these are initiatives related to land record modernization in India or in rural areas. constraints. Digital records have inherited the bad data from old documents, lack of data standardization, lack of coordination between various nodal agencies handling land records, digital presence, data leaks and threat of cyber attacks, malicious manipulation of digital land records can erode landowners' trust in the system. What are way forward? Providing government employees appropriate skills, adopt and implement security management systems, undertake surveying and mapping of the land, build capacity among states, conducted awareness generation programs, build uniform standards for recording, maintaining and updating land records. So these are the way forward related to land records modernization in India. Next is land tilting. So this you can remember this also, and we will move forward for next schemes or next program. We will start this in next lecture, so you can remember all about for these schemes, okay, and programs related to economic development. So thank you for watching, and subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon for updating these videos, and likes and shares this video to benefit other students and prepare well for upcoming mains 2023 exams, and revise these schemes and programs again and again, so you can reach your program and achieve your goal very effectively. So thank you very much.